Hi, this is John Harris. Welcome to the John Harris Podcast. My guest this week is Andy Benoit, who writes for Sports Illustrated's NFL webpage, The Monday Morning Quarterback. Andy, how are you doing, man?
I'm well, John. How are you?
I'm doing really good. We're getting to really excited the meat of the NFL playoffs now. 4 games this weekend. 4 pretty good games. We didn't have too many really good games last week, but I think that could change this weekend. Let's jump right into it and look at Ike Taylor's former team, Pittsburgh Steelers, visiting Kansas City on Sunday. I'm going to get your opinion, your prediction on each game, but I also want to just start off. Give me a player to watch, in your opinion, for each team. And we can start with the Steelers in this game.
Well, I mean, obviously, Le'Veon Bell's playing the running back position at I think, the highest level I've seen it played since Adrian Peterson in 20. Level that Aaron Rodgers is currently doing his job. So, you can always say Le'Veon Bell, but I think my guy for Kansas City would be Travis Kelce, because he's at the fulcrum of what they do. Route combination-wise, where he lines up really matters. And with the Steelers being a zone defense, the guy that they're going to want Kelce to attack in that zone vertically, because they know what coverages they can get him having to cover vertically, is Lawrence Timmons. So I think that's the other player to watch for Pittsburgh, because he's going to be key, not all game long, but in certain critical moments, he's going to be key to handling Travis Kelce. And when those moments will come is when Kelce's aligned in the slot or in the inside slot, the furthest inside position, when it's a trips receiver formation, which Kansas City does a lot. So I would look for them to attack Timmons. He's the guy you want to go after. He's not a bad player. He's not a liability, but he's their least athletic pass defender in the back 7, and they're going to try to get Kelce matched on him.
Andy, you brought up a really good point about Steelers playing the zone now. We know when Ike was there, played a lot more man. How does that zone versus man affect the Steelers' pass rush, either positively or negatively?
Well, we'll pat Ike on the back. They played man-to-man on his side of the field. They played a lot of zone on the other side of the field still. He was a different player for them. It doesn't impact it a whole lot, because they do a lot of zone blitzes and zone exchanges. And a zone exchange is where one guy blitzes, but a defensive lineman drops back into coverage. So you're still rushing 4, you're just rushing a different 4. They do that a lot. They balance the field with their coverage concepts when they do their pressure stuff. So it's unique. And what's made it great over the years is they are aggressive with pressure, yet they're very cautious in the way they go about that aggression. So it's once they rotate into the coverage, they're an easy defense to figure out. They play very basic zones off of those coverage rotations. What's complicating is figuring out who's going to be rushing first and who's going to be rotating. But once you can identify that, then you know what you're looking at.
Kansas City, just a team, they had a really good season, number 2 seed in the AFC. Still under the radar to me. Is this a dangerous team? Should Steeler fans be worried and concerned? The game is in Kansas City, really loud, a tough place to play. The weather, I understand, is going to be really bad. Let's get into your prediction right now. How do you see this game shaping up?
Well, bad weather, I think, would favor Pittsburgh, depending on how that impacts the field conditions. Because when it's bad weather, the guys that suffer most are the ones who have to react to players. Cornerbacks that have to react.
Right.
Offensive tackles that have to react to pass rushers. And Le'Veon Bell's the guy you have to react to if you're the Chiefs, and they really don't have a very good collective run defense. They have talented run defenders, but it's not a good run defense as a whole unit. So bad weather, Steeler fans ought to brighten at that idea. And remember, they beat them bad in the rain in Week 4 against Kansas City when that game was in Pittsburgh.
Right.
The key is jumping out. I think really this game will probably be decided in the first quarter just based on the way Kansas City plays. They are very deliberate with their scripted plays, and Andy Reid's probably the best in the NFL at scripted plays, especially coming off a bye week where he's had that much more time to prepare. He's very preparation-oriented. And what Kansas City does early in games, that's where they take the overwhelming majority of their deep shots. And that's where you see a lot of their best misdirection stuff, where they put Tyreek Hill or Kelsey going in one direction and the play flowing in the other direction. That really stresses a defense. So they challenge the defense most in the first quarter, and what they've been able to do lately is get some leads and then sit on those leads and just run the game out with their defense. I think you have to win the first quarter if you want to have a really good chance of beating the Chiefs.
And your prediction? Are you a prediction guy? Do you do that a lot? What do you think?
I'm not. If I were a prediction guy, I would probably not be doing this stuff. I'd just be making the predictions and keeping it to myself and making money on that. I can tell you what I think will happen in games, but I can't ever tell you how I think that will translate to points exactly.
Yeah. This sounds like, from what you're saying, this sounds like almost a toss-up, and we will keep our eye on that first quarter and see if Kansas City is able to continue that trend of jumping out to an early lead and holding it, or if Pittsburgh is able to get out and get off to a quick lead and kind of stem that momentum of playing on the road. Let's move over to the NFC and one of two marquee games over there, Dallas and Green Bay, the Aaron Rodgers show against the Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott show. I named two Cowboy players. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is probably the guy to watch. Green Bay, how about Dallas?
Well, Dallas is what's unique about them and what separates them from the team, because Green Bay's defense was very good last week, and I think that gets lost in the discussion. But what separates Dallas from that Giants offense that Green Bay saw is they have a number one receiver, just like the Giants with Odell. Dez Bryant's not Odell Beckham, but he's still a veritable number one receiver. But they've also got the tight end to balance it with, and that impacts the way you can employ your double teams. They were as aggressive with double teams on Beckham as any team I've seen this season, and maybe to a certain degree any team ever. I mean, they played 2-on-1 against him all game long. And you can do that against the Giants because they don't have a tight end that's going to threaten the middle of the field. They're not good at that position. Jason Witten will threaten the middle of your field. And so does the other safety go there? And are you playing one-on-one everywhere else? And if you do that, you're making the coverages pretty predictable for Prescott, and that's a good way to help a rookie quarterback. It's a harder offense to play against because of the weapons they have and where they have them. And keep in mind, all of this we're talking about, if we're doubling Dez or doubling Witten or doubling both, which they've been inclined to do before, then you're lightening the box for Ezekiel Elliott.
Aaron Rodgers against Cowboys defense. This guy is on a hot streak that you wouldn't believe. Aaron Rodgers. Can he continue it in Dallas?
Well, what was so scary last week is that Rodgers played on schedule and on time, and that's really not in his nature, believe it or not. He is not a rhythmic quarterback. He is very much a willy-nilly sandlot QB, and that did not work for them great early in the year, but he's throwing the ball more accurately now, and it's working like in ways we've never seen before. So that's how he plays. But last week against the Giants in the second half, he added the dimension of rhythm. He played on schedule and on time. And if he's going to play that way, if he's going to be both sandlot and a scheduled quarterback, I don't know how you beat that guy then.
Yeah, he's on a roll, and he does this even with Jordy Nelson ruled out today. It seems like it doesn't really matter who he's playing pitch and catch with. He has the defenses on his heels. He's just playing with this unbelievable level of confidence. That Hail Mary again at the end of the half last week, incredible. The guy just has a knack for it. It just like whatever he throws up there, he feels like somebody's going to come down with it. And you're looking at a veteran quarterback, maybe the best quarterback in the NFL right now, against a rookie quarterback, even though he's having an outstanding season. This is his first playoff game. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. You're listening to the Air Network, John Harris podcast. We're talking with Andy Benoit, SI's Monday Morning Quarterback. Andy, let's move on and continue in the NFC, Seattle and Atlanta. I know this is a game that you highlighted in your Monday Morning Quarterback page this week. How do you see this one coming out?
Atlanta's hard to play against. That offense is averaging 36-plus points a game over their last 6 outings. And what they do that makes them unique is they play really well. They're good in 3 receiver sets with their route combinations there, as most teams play a lot of 3 wide these days. But they go to their base personnel, and they do that about 40% of the time. And included in that, they'll even go 3 tight end personnel. So just 1 receiver, 3 tight ends on the field. That's what they killed Seattle with last time, because they lined those tight ends up in weird positions, and then they run routes that really stress the rules of your zone coverage. And keep in mind, Atlanta knows every rule of Seattle's zone coverage, because Atlanta's head coach was the one who installed a lot of those coverages when he was Seattle's defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, and right. Atlanta runs those same zone coverages themselves. So they know what they're going to get. In fact, we're probably going to see both teams play more man-to-man, just because the zones are so vulnerable to being attacked against these two teams, because these teams know them so well. But Atlanta was unbelievable in that last time, and it did not translate to a win. I understand that. But I thought their performance at Seattle was one of the best we've seen offensively from a strategical, tactical standpoint. And that offense now is even better than it was when it went into that game.
And one last point here before we move on to our final playoff game. Julio Jones, Richard Sherman, should we expect to see that matchup all game?
Probably. Richard Sherman traveled with Jones last time, but that's the problem, John, is Atlanta understands how you can force Sherman out of that matchup. So unless it's pure man-to-man coverage, which in that case you're giving Matt Ryan a predictable look before the snap, and that's not good either. He's very good in that regard. Unless it's pure man-to-man, they can do motions and shifts that force Sherman to come off of Jones and take someone else, and that's what they did in the game last time, and then they attacked Sherman from that with route combinations, and they got him to blow a coverage or two. So Sherman will travel with Jones, but the offense, if they want, can dictate the terms of that matchup still.
Yeah. Let's wrap up this week's podcast and go back to the AFC, New England, and Houston. How do you see that one? Jadeveon Clowney having a monster year. Tom Brady is Tom Brady.
And Jadeveon Clowney is going to have a monstrous game times 10 for Houston to pull off an upset here. And I don't think the Vegas line's a good one in this one. Houston had, by yardage, they had the NFL's number 1 defense, and they were one of the better third down defenses. They're great with their coverage disguises. They have corners who can play man or zone at a lockdown level, and they do a lot with their pass rush looks, and they've got 2 really good movable pieces in Whitney Mercilus and Jadeveon Clowney. So it's not an easy defense to play against, and to have a 15, 16-point spread, whatever it's at now, I think that's a little bit carried away. I think this will be a more competitive game than that, but it's going to have to be on the strength of Houston's defense. Their offense is not going to go toe-to-toe and score 30 points and duel with Tom Brady like that. So they're going to have to get some big plays on defense, but they're capable of doing that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney seems like he's made up for the early part of his career. A lot of criticism. J.J. Watt out this year. I doubt people expected him to have this kind of breakout season, which he's had. Makes for an entertaining game, but of the 4 games that we have, I maybe put that one at the bottom of the list from a competitive standpoint. I can see this game being over with early and New England moving on to the AFC Championship game. Andy Benoit, our special guest from Monday Morning Quarterback. Andy, thank you so much. We look forward to having you on again in the future. Enjoy the games this weekend, and talk to everybody soon.
All right.